Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Rhipe Partner Solutions Day. We have an exciting lineup of speakers and panel sessions, so please make yourself comfortable, get yourself a cup of coffee ready, and we will begin shortly. Thank you. It's yours.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Rhipe virtual webinar. My name is Lee. I'm the country manager of Rhipe Malaysia. Can I have my slides, please? All right. Apologies for that. Okay, so before we start, let me move aside. Let me just welcome you once again, and let me just share with you who is Rhipe. Okay, so Rhipe, we are born in a cloud distributor with almost 2,700 partners, and if you can see on your screens, we are physically present in almost all of ASEAN, headquartered in Australia, New Zealand, and also having offices in New Zealand. Okay, so why are we here today, and why are we putting on this show for you, right? Our mission, together with Microsoft, is to help our partners, our ecosystem of partners, and most importantly, our end customers, right? So we thought about it, and we thought, why not put on a show where you can actually get advice, tips, and even experiences from what our panel has gone through during these difficult times. And from there, perhaps, we can actually help you. I personally have reached out to a lot of people in my group and my circle. Whoever that needs help, I urge you to actually go fill up the feedback form. We have a panel of 8 experts here that can actually help you, and Microsoft is backing us up. So without further ado, let me introduce the next speaker, which is Mr. K. Raman, the Managing Director of Microsoft Malaysia. Over to you, Raman.
Hi, I'm Raman, and thanks for having me at the Rhipe Partner Solution Day. What a year 2020 has been. It's hard to believe we are almost at the end of the year. When I look back at 2020, it's been a unique time for all of us. With COVID-19 still upon us, the impact has been varied globally. Some communities are recovering, and others are still responding. Yet, while every experience has been unique, there has been an incredible sense of unity. We've come together and supported each other to help every person and every organization transform and build resiliency for the future with digital technology. On this note, I would like to thank our network of partners, including Rhipe, for their strong support and collaboration with all of us in accelerating the digital transformation of our nation, industries, and communities. In fact, the speed of digital transformation has been astonishing. In the words of our CEO, Satya Nadella, we saw 2 years worth of digital transformation happening in 2 months. During the early stages of MCO, organizations were primarily focused on introducing new ways to work, learn, and interact. As we move from offices and schools to working and studying remotely in our living rooms and kitchens, organizations had to quickly deploy productivity tools such as Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365. As a matter of fact, we saw Microsoft Teams usage jumping by 50% to 115 million daily active users, demonstrating the changing landscape of workplace and education. Additionally, many have also migrated to the Microsoft Cloud, taking advantage of the Azure services. Globally, we saw demand for Microsoft Cloud offerings increasing by 31% year over year. With Microsoft Azure, our customers are able to scale up, scale down, and expand into new geographies without heavy capital investments needed to manage their own data center. This also means spinning up new services quickly and be confident of the security and governance. For instance, Ticket2You, which provides online ticketing services, had to reimagine their business model entirely, as all in-person events were cancelled. They first offered their platform to help raise funds for Zoo Negara as part of their CSR, and it was a huge success. In addition, the media awareness, this initiative also helped validate Ticket2You's cloud-based solutions for non-event purposes. Today, Ticket2You has increased its revenue by 5 times in this new category, and the company is increasingly building its cloud-based products, including people tracking platform and thermal scanning solutions with Microsoft Azure. Similarly, Malaysia Airports had launched a new online retail platform on the Microsoft Cloud to recover from COVID-19. As you are aware, the tourism and airlines are among the most heavily impacted industries because of COVID-19. Malaysia Airports' new e-platform, called Shop My Airports, provides airport retailers with the opportunity to expand their market beyond a brick-and-mortar setup at the airport. Today, this e-commerce platform is growing significantly, and Malaysia Airports is targeting at least 10% in sales as a sustainable means to recover. The stories of Ticket2You and Malaysian Airports are some examples of many forward-thinking organizations that are reimagining their current business models with the goal of enhancing their business resiliency. Together with our partners, including Rhipe, we have helped empower small and medium and large organizations across every industry to achieve more. And we are committed to ensuring your organizations stay ahead of the curve with digital technology and innovation. From the work we do with our partners and customers, we recognize that innovation is no longer an option. Organizations were forced to transform rapidly during the pandemic, but as a result, they are finding it easier to embrace digital innovation today. In fact, according to a study we did with IDC Asia Pacific, we discovered that 65% of organizations are finding it easier to innovate since COVID-19. This is a drastic change from just 24% before the pandemic. With this new confidence, 8 out of 10 organizations in Malaysia are speeding up their digitalization by launching new digital products, digital payments, e-commerce, and automation. As every organization is innovating their business, this means you will also need to continually disrupt your business or risk being disrupted. Essentially, we believe innovation is a necessity for organizations to be successful in the long run. For this, you will need technology, people, processes, and data to drive innovation forward. It is critical for organizations to fortify their resilience with technology, invest in people's capabilities and skill, leveraging data to increase their competitiveness, and redesign their processes to empower their employees. At Microsoft, we work closely with our partners to offer an end-to-end technology solutions covering modern workplace, business applications, infrastructure, and data and AI. We provide comprehensive cloud-based digital offerings, enabling you to empower your employees, engage your customers, optimize your operations, and transform your products. Our cloud solution consists of Microsoft 365, LinkedIn, Dynamics 365, GitHub, Power Platform, all of this running on the same Microsoft Azure cloud infrastructure. We recognize that as technology advances, so will cyber attacks, which is why we have an integrated, comprehensive offering covering identity, security, management, and compliance in every part of our cloud solution. We also invest about $1 billion every year in cybersecurity to ensure our technologies are highly trusted by organizations. In addition to technology, it is equally important to focus on the people within your organization and to empower them with the right technology, processes, and data, enabling them to create more, do more, and solve more. It's all about people plus technology. This is what we call tech intensity. In addition to just tech adoption, you need tech capability. This means all organizations in all sectors and all sizes will need a culture where their people are empowered with the right skills and tools, particularly in this new normal. To help build people's capabilities, skilling is a critical priority for us at Microsoft. Earlier this year, we launched the Microsoft Global Skilling Initiative, which is our flagship program to help 25 million people worldwide gain more digital skills. Through this initiative, you can access the free learning resources from LinkedIn, Microsoft, and GitHub to reskill and upskill digitally. In every industry and in every country, we are committed to empowering every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Together with our partners, we look forward to working with you and help you transform your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Raman, and also thank you, Lee, earlier on for providing some fascinating insights from Microsoft Malaysia. I'm just going to do a little bit of a recap. It's interesting that Raman was mentioning that 2 years worth of digital transformation happening in just 2 months. That itself is quite fascinating. He also mentioned that how COVID-19 has truly made us rethink the way we work and utilizing a variety of platforms such as Microsoft Teams. And we will, of course, get to that in more details during our panel session. And also, businesses are now capitalizing on Microsoft Cloud and being able to spin out new services very quickly, and that's really important. And as a result, 8 out of 10 organizations in Malaysia, Raman was mentioning, are accelerating the pace of digitalization because innovation is currently no longer an option. And the biggest takeaway for me is that successful innovation actually requires people. I've always maintained that you are only as innovative as the people using the technologies that has been provided, not the other way around. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to kickstart our first panel session. Again, a reminder, if you have any questions, you can always drop them into the comment sections that's on your screen, and we will answer them during this session in our discussion. Robots will take over the world. We've heard this many times before, and at times we probably even make jokes about it. But in today's COVID-19 pandemic situation that we're all in, where schools, factories, restaurants, and the travel industry, and also millions more are placed in lockdown, this joke is now somewhat of a reality. And throughout the years, technological revolutions have always created this fear of mass unemployment and societal disruption. Just look at Kodak, right, going out of business due to the rise of digital photography, or even electronic payment system, making toll booth operators redundant. But the current COVID-19 pandemic situation has only accelerated and intensified this change. And this concerns a wide range of unskilled and routine-based jobs within the manufacturing sector, logistics, the finance business, in high-income economies, and agricultural, manufacturing, and also retail in low and medium-income economies. So the question is, how can SaaS and automation help to ease the disruption to business processes in these uncertain times? So please welcome my panelists for today. Is Peng from Applicate, Chris Tay from MLIT Partners, Lance Cheang from VLAN.Asia, and Jdrian Lim from Enovade.
Automation is important for all businesses. Basically, automation helps to streamline their business operations.
If you're aware that currently all the labor charges, operation cost is increasing. So if you don't do business automation, you won't increase your revenue. You have increasing your operation cost. So this is the most important thing.
Mainly because people don't realize that a few seconds saved on this task and a few minutes saved on that task can actually help a company grow even faster.
Automation is important because in the current day and age, everyone wants to automate their processes in a digital manner. They do not want to fill in a form and then go to another place to go and fill in the same form again over and over. You have a smart card in the form of IC. All you need to do is just plug in and all the information are being pulled and populated in the respective system.
The main consideration is to identify what your pain points are so that you can automate these priority areas. This will ensure that you have maximize your ROI in your projects.
COVID-19 changed the way of doing business. So if you're still using the old way of doing business, you can't compete with the market. If you're do it now, you do it later, you're out of the market.
Companies need to understand what they really need. They need to know what the problem they're actually facing, what are the problems they're trying to resolve. From there, you know what is the S is and where is the to be.
You need to understand that automation means to say that how do you want to disrupt the current processes. So you need to understand is how do you want to eliminate those unnecessary processes and what is the outcome that you want to achieve from this automation process.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my panelists for today. Also, great insights, right? We kind of like already got things started. I've got a bunch of questions here that is, for my panelists, but this is actually a session more for you. So if you have any questions, please submit them into the Q&A box, into the comments box that's available on your screen right now. And I will have some moderators that will assist me in this section. And we will try to address as many questions from you as possible. But I guess, I would like to maybe start off with something. Take us maybe before we talk about all this automation and how we can improve and stuff, right? Because I think it's important to perhaps maybe engage with a little bit of the myth busting in this, automation, the fear that we have, right? So what exactly is the fear around automation pre-COVID-19, Chou?
Well, basically, most people don't like change. Every time there's a change, there's a fear of something not going right. But in terms of automation, I think there are many reasons. It could be cost. It could be, am I finding the right solution for you? Or what happens if after the automation? So these are all valid concerns. Yeah. But I think the bigger thing that a company should look at is post-automation integration. Are the people ready? What are the gap for the people to actually adapt to the system? I think that's one of the key things, and how are companies going to address the skills and retraining that they need to provide their staff.
Chris, what about you? Like, what was like, because obviously all of y'all have been working with various different partners and customers from different industry verticals, right? What was like the fear that they would have when you were to, go in and talk about SaaS and automation?
Okay, because our organization been through a couple of so-called fear transformations. Because we started offer solution in AS400 mainframe solutions. So we help those customers to transform from those dinosaurs solution to window-based solutions. Then later on, come to a stage where they comes, I'm not sure, do you know, Millennium Bugs, Y2K, where people got the fears to solve the problem from the digit of 1999 to 2000s. Then later on come to Malaysia's, there's a GST era, where businesses, they also have the fears to fulfill the compliance for the custom requirements. So when come to this era, digital transformation, automation, I would say also a fear. Yeah. So fears is because people, I don't know. And no one has experienced before. So it takes time to learn and pick up the skill set as well. At the same time, also need to change the way of habit as well. So for this round, the fear, I say, is they don't have any timeline. So businesses, right, you can take your time to slowly do for this transformation or automations.
Yeah.
Let me chime in a little bit on that. One of the biggest problems or one of the biggest fears that employees sometimes have is that once I automate, will I lose my job? That's one of the biggest fears that a lot of people have. So what I always tell them is, don't worry, even though something might be automated, you still can learn new things to actually add more value to the company. Rather than doing some things that is menial, rather than doing things that are repetitive all the time, right? You can actually get a robot or get an automation to get it done for you automatically, right? And you can actually add more value. You can actually do more stuff. You can actually engage your customers better, because a robot can't engage your customers, you see. So you can add value that way, you see.
Yeah. For now, they can't engage the customers, but maybe in the future, we don't know, right? Jdrian, what about your side, right? Like, what have you noticed besides the fear of change and the speed of things? Any other unique findings that you're seeing?
So far, I think what all the speakers have shared, and also that we have from our customer, is that of course the fear of the employees losing the job. This is the first thing. And of course, the assurance that people always want to give to them, and they have this digital transformation and automation, is that you don't actually lose your job, but more of how do you actually now deliver yourself for the organization in a different type of job. For example, like right now, you've been so, doing like what you have mentioned just now, the toll toll payment and so on. So it's already automated with touch and go, RFID and so on. So what happened to those people who are manning the toll booth? So basically, they actually can do other things, in the form of like probably analyze the data that they have, or maybe do some other form of administration work that I believe most of these companies are struggling. They are understaffed, but they do not have the capacity to hire some more. So this is where they can actually add value to the organization.
It goes to the upskilling, the
Yes.
reskilling, right? Because
Correct.
there are new jobs that will come from automation. It may eliminate some of the jobs, but there are actually new jobs that will come. Because we've seen this, right? In previous industrial revolutions, it's always has been that case, right? It will eliminate some jobs. Most of them were like really highly risky jobs, in terms of the health-wise. Those were eliminated, replaced with different things. But then there are new jobs that come around. Now, for those of you who are tuning in, and if you have like a certain type of fear that in automation or in SaaS that you probably don't feel comfortable or moving forwards, maybe this is the platform for you. So drop us your comments in the section box and let us know what exactly is your fear in automation and why maybe you have resisted. What are some of the challenges that you're facing, and perhaps we'll be able to then get some of our panelists here to address some of your concerns. Now moving forwards, Chris, I would like to start with you on this. Like one thing that automation has done, like you mentioned, right, is the shift in employment skill sets. And I want to talk about in Malaysia, how have we coped with this shift, especially now because COVID-19, I think it's a no-brainer to say that it really has accelerated this and also intensified this shift. From Malaysia's perspective, are we coping well enough?
The answer is yes, because Microsoft do offer some entry level of automation package. So for those businesses, right, you can start with something simple, small, to adopt on it. Then, or up to a extent, you can go for those package where you are comfortable. Then from there, get your people start to like these automations. Once they get the benefit, they benefit from there. Then subsequently, they'll know, hey, I need more. I want to demand more. Then from there, you just come back to Microsoft to upgrade your current plan to a higher plan. Then from there, your business will continue from there.
Jdrian, have you seen that where it starts with, I guess in a way it's baby steps, right? That's how generally you would try to get someone to make that change, like you mentioned earlier on, right? So have you seen that as well, where you start with something small and they actually realize the potential and do more?
So in our practice, usually what we do is we encourage users to have the so-called baby steps, meaning to say that you do something at a smaller scale, like a pilot or a POC, whereby you try to find and experiment what are the ways that we can automate and how can people accept and adapt to the changes that has been happen. I think the government is also trying to make some point over here, whereby they have introduced the digital transformation as one of the key focus area in this COVID-19. And I believe that they have this program Penjana or something like that, which they actually empower HRDF, for that matter, to offer courses for these organizations to upskill their staff and also to make sure that they are prepared to go for the so-called digital transformation, automation and whatnot. Because things like this is very important if you have the exposure. If you don't have exposure, you don't know where you're heading to. So that's my take.
Our approach usually is we actually try to tell our customers, figure out what are the problems that you're actually facing. All right, have a goal in mind where you want to go. Figure out what are the problems that you are facing. Once you know what are the problems, you actually can fit certain technologies to actually suit those problems. Coming back to the previous question also, right? One of the fears is cost. A lot of people are worried about cost. So how we usually try to help with our customers is that we help them with also funding options where, like just now he mentioned, the government is actually helping out with things like Penjana. MDEC is also offering things like the SAG grants, the digitalization grants. So there are a lot of alternatives to actually, or rather options for you to actually get some money to actually spend on digitalization on your business to accelerate.
Chou, I want to move on to you. Like, one of the core arguments is that humans must remain at the center of any automation systems, right? So I think even Raymond mentioned about people as well, right? How much of this is actually true, and what are the factors to consider when you were to actually take that baby steps in automation?
I think human will always be part of the workforce, right? And human plus technology or machines will help you to achieve your productivity gains, okay? Some of the considerations you look at would be things like the readiness within the organization. How are you guys going to, how are the people within your organization going to cope with automation? And also look into things like change management, because there'll be people changes in terms of roles, there'll be business process, infrastructure, or even technology. So these are things to consider.
Lance, on your side, right? How much is that factor of like the people in the tech that companies actually realize? Instead of, I'm sure you would have conversations, and some of the senior bosses would probably then say like, all right, so what happens to my staff and my existing staff and all that, right? How much is it actually vital to include the staff even in the implementation processes, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the people are the ones that are actually going to be utilizing these services to actually elevate the business forward.
That's very true. That's very true. One of the things that we take our customers through is actually we take them through what we call a strategic summit, together with all of the HODs of every company, together with the owner as well. So what happens in this summit is where the company actually sets goals, maybe 6 months or 12 months. Once you have those goals in mind, right, and you figure out how to get to those goals. In order to get to those goals, you actually have to do this, and this. In order to do some of those things, you need to put in these processes. You need to figure out who is in charge of it. You put a timeline to it. Then you tag a technology to it. So at the heart of it is always about people. Without people to drive the technology, without people to actually drive the company forward or to actually achieve those goals, however much technology will not help.
We do have a few questions in the comments section here. I'm going to pick out one here, and I believe that the term here is job evolution from farmers to farming machinery engineers. I guess, the first question is looking around the impact of the environment. So, everyone seems to be talking about digital transformation and automation, but what about carbon emissions from automation itself? Now, I'm sure, this is a very big question here, right? But and I think it's important to maybe address it slightly because the world today is moving towards trying to achieve, the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals and stuff, right? How much is actually tech playing an important role in actually helping to achieve those SDG goals, right? Lance?
Usually, the first thing when we actually talk to our customers about cloud, right, is I ask them, do you really need that server room in your office? So if everybody were to remove their server rooms from their office and move to cloud, there's a lot of air conditionings you can shut down. There's a lot of servers you don't have to power on. There's a lot less energy you need to consume, you see. So in a sense, that is actually in line with the SDG goals. And it is something that we strive towards as well, because that's why we push cloud as much as we do. Because in the end, you really don't need that server room, if you ask me.
And I think you can see even in Microsoft's statements and stuff, which is a public record, right? They themselves, a lot of these tech companies are also striving to achieve a better SDG goals. Right? Jdrian, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, actually, I do agree with Lance. And for those who have actually asked the question, I believe that right now the technology company is trying to strive to the point that they want to go for the green technology. And most of the data centers right now, they are trying to see how much carbon emission they can reduce. And Microsoft has already expanding their data centers even to the state that why don't they host a data center at the sea level so that they can reduce down the aircon and so on because it's cooling. And this is not only to basically save the environment, but also to reduce down the consumption of energy, unnecessary energy, which is very important. And of course, the future of the automation itself is already been assured by with such things in place. And by having the SDG in place also, the sustainability is very important, especially when it comes to environmental care.
Chou, I want to bring you for the follow-up to that, right? So, do you then think that digital acceleration is actually solving today's problem, but also probably brewing future problems that are beyond the digital sphere? This is, I guess, $1 million question as well, right? Because if you can predict the future, that will be amazing.
But I think if you look at today, businesses, regional companies, regional offices, they are flying all over. Again, lots of carbon, increase in carbon footprint, right? So if you look at today, if you don't mind me saying, the good thing that came out from this pandemic is people can fly. And there are technologies available, video conferencing. People are getting used to this. Instead of face-to-face meeting, flying to a country just to have a meeting. So you can actually use teleconferencing. And this itself is already helping to reduce the carbon footprint instead of flying.
I'm going to go to Chris here. I've got a question that, when we were talking about how it's about, you go to the companies. I think, Lance, you were mentioning that you go to the companies, you ask them what are some of your problems and some of the challenges. Like, Chris, like on your side, do companies actually able to identify the problems that they're facing at the moment? Because I feel that is also an area where sometimes they are struggling to identify areas that, that they will actually say, like, I have a problem in this sector and stuff, right? Do you see companies finding difficulty in actually saying they have a problem in this?
It's still back to the company cultures. So for those companies who have enterprise levels, they know what they want. So they have a group of people to come up with the problems, their agenda, and then look for solutions. But we do came across that those SME customers, they are doing well, but they do have problems, but their people is not ready. So normally what we do is we will go in and help them to consult them, then find out what's their problem facing, then subsequent offer our best practice, because Microsoft, they do have best practice of using the solution. Then from there, we'll recommend them to follow. Then from there, value added to do other things as well.
Jdrian, what about your side? In terms of the communications that you have with your existing customers, right? Identifying the problems, is that like kind of like a workshop by itself already?
That's actually a good point. There's many areas that we can look forward to. Every time when we speak to our customers, usually they have, we will gather them in a workshop. It's very important because everyone needs to know what everyone is doing. Like what Lance mentioned just now is that we need to have everyone coming out with the so-called problem statement, solutioning, and so on. Most of the time that we have is that people don't know what the other side is doing. Department A may not be able to understand what is Department B doing, although they know that they have functions and role. But when we want to talk about collaboration and so on, that's where we can identify the missing piece, and that's very important. Yeah.
One of the things that I actually noticed throughout all of our engagement with our customers is that most of the times, a lot of the onus is actually placed onto IT to actually drive digital transformation. This, I feel, it is a bit of a problem because in the end, IT is probably the last person who will actually drive digital transformation because IT will not know the fullest extent on where the company is headed towards. IT will not know what are the biggest business problems. So in my opinion, digitalization is actually something that has to come from management. It has to come from the business units itself, not from IT, to be very frank.
Yeah. Actually, following that, we've got a really good question here. And I think, Chris, maybe we'll start with you on this. How to stay ahead of the automation and digital transformation by acquiring the right skills. As an employee, we are always at the receiving end of the transmotion and automation that the company or employer would like to do. It's like chasing the shadow because of automation and transformation. It's just so broad. And I think that's quite true, right, Chris, in the sense that it's always the management, the board will decide on this. And I think it goes back to being inclusive of the employers, the staff that are also going to be doing. So how do you stay ahead by acquiring the right skills?
As I shared with you earlier, that you start something where you are comfortable. then your people can start something. So once they used to it, they benefit from there, then subsequent they will start to look for other things to do other transformations. So normally we advise customer don't break down your so-called process. Phase 1 do what, phase 2 do what, and phase 3 what you do. Then from there, the success of this transformation automation is much more higher.
One of the things that I feel is that everybody must have a bit of an entrepreneurial mindset. It's not being an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is starting a business. Now, entrepreneurial means you must always be constantly improving on yourself. Improving yourself, whether or not it's from the personal perspective or also from the company's perspective. So digital transformation is more like an ongoing process. There is no, okay, we're going to do digitalization for 1 year, then after that we're going to stay stagnant for again. That's never going to happen. It's going to be always an ongoing process where you're constantly improving, you're constantly learning new things, you're constantly adding more automation and getting your company more digital.
Chou, on your side, how would you go about in the sense of getting the employers to actually stay ahead? Because most of the time, these kind of decisions are generally made from the senior management.
Well, basically, to me, I think digital transformation is a strategy. It's not a tactical kind of situation that says, this looks good, let's do this. What is the plan for the next 3-5 years? Identify the immediate pain points so that you can actually address, and you know that whatever you do initially, you will get the benefits. So I think that's the most important thing.
We've got about 20 minutes left, so for those of you who have any other questions, please drop them into the comments box. We will try to address them as we go about. Also, don't worry, because we have another panel session that's coming up later on, and also we've got plenty more videos and insights. But this, take this opportunity because it is important, where we can address some of the concerns that you have. Chris, I want to go on to you, and I think some of the challenges, I guess, in this situation is that COVID-19 has really made businesses to think beyond whatever they're doing, right? To change the way that they work, rethink the way that they work, right? So SaaS, however, is not something new. This has been around for a number of years now. So why has it suddenly become at the forefront of making a business survive in this day and age? I understand that some businesses can't operate, but why is SaaS play that really important critical role here? What does SaaS bring to the table?
As you know, SaaS stands for Software as a Services. So Microsoft, they invest and they continue to invest more technology like artificial intelligence, prediction capabilities. So what Microsoft do in Microsoft Dynamics 365 is they turn data into actions for decision maker to make actions. So those days, when people need the information, they need to go into the software to export to the Excel. The Excel, you spend half day or sometimes to prepare in private tables, then send the email to the decision makers. So when it comes to the software services, how the engine works is the software will run automatically, and then push the information to the person in charge, or push those important information to the person in charge. So what we done for our customer is the software used to, example, the customer used to buy things from you. So suddenly this customer more than 2 weeks never buy things from you. The system is intelligent to inform the sales manager, hey, there's a customer more than 2 weeks never buy from you. Then if the customer continue more than 2 weeks or 4 weeks never buy things from you, right, the system is intelligent to inform the decision maker, hey, there's a customer more than 1 month, no sales to you. So you need to take action. So these are one of the good thing of software as a services.
Jdrian, what about your side?
I think SaaS is more important now than ever because, as what Raymond mentioned, with digital transformation comes the bigger threat in terms of cybersecurity. And SaaS is actually another layer of security being considered into the implementation itself. And of course, SaaS is something that you pay as you use. If you use it right now, then you pay for it. And cost, like what Lance has mentioned, is one of the key considerations when you talk about automation and digital transformation. And that is something that SaaS is able to provide to the users itself.
It's not just about SaaS, if you ask me. It's a lot more about the sharing economy. A lot of things are beginning to be shared now. Things like, it's not just software, it's going to be things like hardware. You've got vehicle as a service now, you've got drivers as a service with Grab, you've got vehicles with SoCar and such. So it's not just about software as a service. The world is moving towards a more sharing economy right now. So it doesn't make sense for you to actually own that car. It doesn't make sense for you to buy that server. It doesn't make sense for you to buy that software anymore. So you pay as you use. If you don't use it, you just stop using it, you just stop paying it.
Chou, what about your side? How do you look at SaaS or other types of, I guess, technology that plays here, because right now it's like you either innovate or you die, right? In that sense, right? And COVID-19 has really brought on into that situation. So how can actually businesses look at SaaS as a way for them to survive and then maybe think on striving, right?
Right. So actually, SaaS as a service, basically especially the smaller companies, I mean the big enterprises, they know what they are looking for, especially the smaller companies. It makes it the entry for them to get into a particular area like CRM, it becomes more affordable. If you go into things like on-premise previously, you have to get your servers, you got to get a software license, you have to pay for implementation services, and that is prohibitive. With today's software as a service, you are paying subscription, so it makes it very affordable to start, and then you don't have to worry about hardware, and you just need the services.
We've got a few more questions, and I think also time is an essence here. So maybe I think what we could do is we could do like a rapid fire session, right, and try to address as many questions as we can. So I guess Chou, we'll just start with you very quickly. Digital transformation is going to be a new breath for the industry. So in your experience, will those who don't change survive?
I think if you look at today's situation, those people who are addressing the consumers, they have to definitely adopt like e-commerce. How do you buy things online? These are all important. So this is a form of digital transformation, if you ask me.
It's keeping up with the change from the consumers as well, right?
That's right.
Because if you don't address your consumers, then you don't have a business to
How
run.
to get to your customers,
your
and how to make it easy for them to buy from you.
And Chris, I think what about like protection for privacy and data? For example, there are online talks that require attendees to share their addresses and even phone numbers during registration. And I think we've seen a lot of this, right? And I think you rightly mentioned. I think the following question is also for you when you were talking about the sales, in 2 weeks prompt. There's a lot of data that we are now currently providing to various different parties. My email, my personal email, never used to be flooded by the mini market that I live nearby. But now, they're sending me, it's like, Mr. Jeff, you haven't actually, been here for the last 2 weeks. Can I offer you a discount and stuff? And I was like, wow, everyone is doing this now, right? So how, I guess in here is the privacy aspect, but also how can companies differentiate themselves and not just following the trend? Because then it becomes annoying to the consumer or to the customer. Yes, Chris. Yeah.
Because once you start to capture the data from your customers, you know the customer buying behaviors. So then from the system itself, the system will recommend what kind of products, what kind of solution, what kind of products you need to recommend to the so-called individual buyers or your customers instead of just mass broadcasting. So these are one of the things you need to look into it, that you must specific based to target your audience.
Don't do mass, because that's gonna destroy your business, because
Correct.
Customers will run away, right?
Correct.
Lance, what about your side? What's your take on this?
I think that it is foolish to think that your data is not already out there. I think all of our data is already out there. So but the key here is to actually limit the outflow of more data to more companies who are vying for your attention. Unless you live under a rock or in a jungle somewhere, I think it's foolish to think that your data is not already with most of the advertisers already. I mean, you use Facebook, you use Twitter, all these guys already have your data anyway. So, you just, if it were me, I would just try to limit your outflow of data. I mean, if there is an option for me not to put in my telephone number or email address, I would take that option.
Jdrian?
I think now, more so ever, data is a new currency. Okay, and whoever owns, let's say, for example, information and so on, is basically the king because you have your target audience. But I think to address this, it boils down to two things. One is the compliance itself, how much you are actually using it. Malaysia has this PDPA, and the rest of the world have this so-called compliance, which is called GDPR, that it is need to be observed. But more important for all organizations today is the ethics. What are you going to do with the data and so on? Whether you're going to flood them with emails or any notification and so on, or you are going to be targeting on important things. So it's very important that you need to know what you want to do with it because, as they say, with great power comes great responsibility, and with great flow of data that you have, the responsibility is back to you because people can sue you for the abuse of data itself, which is already happening right now.
Data is like the new currency, is the new oil, is the new electricity. I mean, we can go on and on, right? Data is everything, right?
Yes.
But for those companies who have the data, I guess they're on a better path because they do have the data. But for many companies, I believe that they will probably also ask, like, I actually don't have, or like I don't have enough data to actually make, some of these steps forward in SaaS and, do predictive and do machine learning and AI and stuff, right? So for companies who want to begin in this journey of automation, and beyond the points of figure out what is the problems and statements that they have, what are some of the technical areas that they need to actually be prepared? What about Chou on your side? What do you think they need to be prepared? Like the data, what's a good enough sample of data that they have? How do they go about in gathering this data and stuff like that, right? In an ethical way, though.
Okay, what they can do, I'm not sure whether it breaches the PDPA, but I think companies do tie up with other companies to carry out this type of
like market research,
to tie up, and then that's where you get the information, and then from there you build your database. But otherwise, I think with PDPA, I think we've got to be careful what you can do and what you should be doing. Yeah. So.
Lance?
Companies don't realize that they actually have a lot of data. You just have to look at your quotations that you send out, the invoices you've been sending out, your accounting data. There's actually a lot of data that you can derive from your own operations that you have not been aware of yet. So for me, what I would tell anyone is that start small. If you are trying to look for more sales, look at your existing customers, see what are the things that you've sold to them before, right? And possibly you can actually contact them to sell them more stuff. So your own data, you'll be surprised how much data you can actually derive from your own customers or your own accounting data and such.
I think we've got one question, which just sticking on final point for data, what kind of things you should not do with the data that you get from your users? Jdrian?
I think you should not sell them. You should not abuse them. See, every time when a data is given, when any organization or anything that you sign up, when they actually ask you for data, first and foremost they will have this so-called little checkbox, at least from Malaysia perspective, that would you want to use or would you allow the so-called sales people and so on to use your data for marketing purposes? And if you do not tick it, basically you don't get notified because this is already governed by the rules, especially when you're talking about PDPA and so on. So I think that is morally and ethically something that you should not do. Yeah.
I think we dabble a lot in the data side and in terms of using it to survive the business environment today and stuff. But I've just got one question just to maybe take it beyond this, right? And for those businesses who have managed to do that, I guess kudos to them. And I'm talking about using these kind of technologies beyond just solving their current needs, but actually creating an opportunity, where they realize there is a new business vertical for them to go in. There is a new opportunity, a new revenue stream that came in from the idea of them adapting technology and stuff, right? Have you seen enough of this? And also, how can businesses actually look at technology beyond just solving their day-to-day needs and the problem statements that they have, but actually look as a potential revenue stream for them, as a potential way for them? Because like you mentioned, Lance, right, there's so much of data that company is generating. I'm very certain that from some of these data, there might be insights where they could realize, hey, hang on a minute, why are we not actually servicing this? Because it seems like it's a great thing to service, right? Have you seen enough of this kind of happenings and insights?
To be honest, no, because most of the people that we engage, they are quite far behind the digitalization curve, unfortunately. So for them, most of them, they just need to try new stuff to begin with before they even take that next step, as you mentioned, right? They need to take a step back to figure out where they want to go first. Because if you don't even know where you want to go, it's going to be very difficult to plot your path towards it, you see. So a lot of people, they don't have enough data. They don't have enough knowledge on how to use that data, and it's not an easy task, to be very frank. And I feel a lot of companies still lack in this area.
Jdrian, what about your side?
I think the journey is always evolving. Today, we may be talking about doing businesses as in, like, for example, let me quote AirAsia, for example. Their core business is just to sell flight tickets. But then again, they have information from the customer itself where they can offer other things. For example, like right now, they have insurance. They also have Tune Talk, for that matter, selling, telco and stuff like that. And they are constantly evolving. Now, I think they are going for fintech, if I'm not mistaken. So things are evolving. And it's not going to end. It's just a matter of where you want to go and what kind of potential that you want to achieve at the end of the day. And there's always a checkpoint in every time that you go that, okay, I've already achieved this much, but then there's another opportunity from the data that these companies will have and how they want to diversify their business into it. And this is where technology can actually help them, if and only if they know how to use the technology itself. Because at the end of the day, the technology is there to help human being. It's not the other way around. We are not the servants of the technology.
I think that's a very good point. We're not the servants of the technology, so we shouldn't actually be so fearful when we talk about automation and whether it's robots taking over the world and stuff. I think we can still probably joke about it, right, at the end of the day. Chris, what about your side? Are you seeing that people understand investment into automation and SaaS is actually a journey? There is no finish line. There is no goalpost. It's a continuous journey here.
Actually, the answer is yes, because nowadays when you run your companies, you must think you are running a digital companies, because nowadays keep changing every 6 months. So if you're still using the 1 year ago technology to run your business, then definitely we cannot capture the markets. So to continue to run the business, it's good to continue to upgrade your technologies, then make it better.
Chou, what about your side?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's actually a journey, a strategy, rather than a tactical solution to fix. So you have to plan and see what's your vision for the company, and then chart out your path in terms of digital transformation.
I've got one final question, and we'll go through all the panelists for today. And I think it's important because we're also talking about post COVID-19. What's going to happen to the role of IT, right? And let's assume, and probably end on the high note that maybe a vaccine does arrive in early 2021, right? So most companies during this year have probably jumped on digital transformation because they were trying to survive. What happens to all of these investments that they have made because of just trying to survive? and how much should they actually continue to work on? I know it's a journey and stuff, but most of them will probably be excited to actually sort of go back to what was pre-COVID, right? So how can businesses find that balance? Because some investments have been made already in 2020 in the digital era, but yet, a lot of people were very comfortable and feel like what happened pre-COVID was a lot better. How do businesses find that middle ground for 2021? Chris, you're smiling. I think you seem to probably have like an answer, or we could probably go to Lance, who's excited to, go. Whichever.
Okay. For those who have invested the solution for automations, so no doubt currently the market is slow. Everyone is facing a challenge, but you must bear in mind that when the economy is come back, for those who invested on automation, when it come to doing business, they were easily to capture the market very fast because they are doing this. They just capture the market share in this way. But compared to those, still they never do any changes. When the economy is come back, those they still continue to use data entry to process. So these are the differences. So normally, transformation won't be before and after. Just will continue to grow.
Lance?
Companies are beginning to realize that they can do more with less. By spending a little bit more money, right? When they automate a task, when they automate processes, right? They need less manpower. They need less attention to it. You don't have to eyeball something to ensure that happens because it runs automatically. So people can either reskill themselves to actually do more, and also companies who actually have invested, they will realize that, hey, I can actually take my business regional, I can take my business global now because I'm online. I don't have to rely on people. I don't have to worry that I can't meet the people face to face. I can talk to them on Zoom. I can talk to them on Teams. I can talk to them on GoToMeeting, whatever product out there, you see. So people are beginning to realize that you don't have to incur that cost to actually make a sale. You don't have to incur that cost to actually grow your business further.
Jdrian?
I think digital transformation, or rather automation for that matter, if you ask any organization today, before COVID, would you go for it? A lot of them will say that, no, let's wait and see. But if today you ask who actually sort of like spearhead digital transformation and so on, it's not the management, it's not the people and so on, it's COVID. You need something to trigger point that so-called digital transformation. And right now, that since you're already on board to it, which is it's already like gifted or given to you, I think the more importantly is to basically proceed and continue with the upscaling and also trying to see how you can improve on your digital transformation journey for those large organizations. For the smaller organization, maybe this is something that you have some doubt and so on. It's okay because you're a small organization. You can always experiment. You can always try out new things. But do not fear of digital transformation because history has shown that companies like Kodak, for that matter, if they don't go digital, where they are right now, and it is something that already have historical data and footprint. So digital is the way forward.
And we'll end with Chou. What about your final note?
Well, I think companies that has embarked onto automation because of the pandemic situation, I think it provides them with an excellent platform for them to innovate when things get better. And like everyone says, we'll be stronger after this. So.
And I think that kind of wraps up our first panel session for today, and I really hope that many of you have gained some insights that will be useful for your business processes in the coming months ahead. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of this session. As I mentioned earlier, we also have prepared more materials for you, such as videos from each of our panel speakers that you've just heard, and you can find them at rhipepartnersolution.com, and you can view them at your own time and at your own pace. I don't want you to leave just yet and go onto the website because we have another amazing panel session that's happening next, and that is the work from home trend. Now, let's face it, the dream of working from home has not quite been the dream that we have envisioned. Constant struggles with internet connection, lack of access to data and valuable information, and also maybe kids crying at home and stuff like that, right? So for many, a home is just not the ideal place to work for work to be done. In the beginning, many were struggling to adapt to this shift, but over the course of the last few months, many have actually found a band-aid approach to make work from home more productive. However, this is still very much a band-aid approach. So can we truly make work from home a permanent option? It's easier said than done, so let's take a 360 perspective on what it actually takes to make this work. My panelists for this session is James Uy from Uniq Consulting, Vincent Choy from Fedelis, Raymond Chow from Infront Consulting, and Adrian Goo from SNS Network.
Working from home, the biggest challenge is you don't get to see the person physically. There is a challenge when you want to gauge the person's body gesture. So it's hard to determine, what the person is actually feeling, or what he's actually thinking, or what could his possible next step. And we sort of lose that, human sentiment when everyone starts to work from home, where businesses are all conducted in a virtual circuit basis.
Well, I think everybody is sort of working from home now. Work is more intense, right? It's more packed, right? And you actually feel that you did a lot more work and you feel so tired and everything. But the problem of working from home, right, I feel is I can't communicate with my team as closely as I used to when we were all in the office.
I feel that the biggest struggle with working from home is not having the ability to interact. So working from home doesn't allow that interaction to take place. So things have to change.
From an IT, hardware and software solutions supplier point of view, surprisingly, most of our customers responded that the first challenge that they faced was actually juggling between family and work, especially those with kids at home.
So things can be easily achieved with technology, with the right mindset. You have a proper time management, you have the proper interaction, as well as using the correct tools to achieve what you want.
So I will encourage companies to basically sit down, have a think through that. If you need inputs, if you need ideas, then call your IT vendors, right? Could even be us.
Working from home needs to change. It can't work traditionally how we used to work in the office. Where things need to be different, the way that we work from home and the way we operate our teams also need to be different. That is really why digital tools, platforms are so important in the era of digital working from home.
It's even more important for them to invest in the right tools, such as laptops with good cameras and noise-cancelling microphones. We believe that with tools such as Microsoft Teams, even shorter amount of time, because you have a call, everyone can jump onto it in the next 5 minutes, and decisions can be made.
Well, fascinating insight. I'm sure we will dive more deeper into the work from home trend. James Uy, Vincent Choy, Raymond Chow, and Adrian Goo are my panelists for today. Also, this is your chance to ask any questions that you would have about making work from home a permanent option. Many companies, the big companies, and even probably some small companies around the world have actually implemented this permanent work from home solutions for the foreseeable future. And you might ask, actually, so how can I actually do this, right? Because let's face it, I think this is going to be my first question, but also a reminder, this is your chance to ask any questions that you have. Drop them into the comment section, and a moderator will assist me in providing clarity, and will provide these questions to our moderators, for our panelists for today, right? So I guess I want to start with this, right? Because the initial dream of working from home, well, for me at least, was like, this is a dream come true. I can't imagine, I can wake up at my own time, I can do things, I can take my time in proceeding with my work. I don't have to travel about an hour to the office. I don't have to get stuck in traffic jam to head back home. But let's face it, when COVID-19 pandemic hit and the lockdown started, I think it was in March, the work from home wasn't quite like the dream that I had, expected it to be. It was actually a huge struggle to get, to just do basic things that I could previously thought, oh, this must be easy, right? So why do you think this was such a huge struggle for businesses? James, we'll start with you.
So majority of the company did not foresee that it's coming. And generally what will happen was the company will still expect you to deliver the same output or even more. Especially when the computer is just right in front of you. There's no excuse. You say that I can't get back to you on time. Okay, so I think work from home, it was really everyone thought it was a dream come true. Like what you have mentioned, those pains are not there. But in reality, when this happens to all of us, I believe, and when that pandemic strikes, the expectation was way beyond
the norm that we used to have. And I guess that everyone would say, oh gosh, I really wish that I was actually in the office. I was actually able to, perform really the best when I was working. I don't have kids, screaming beside me, and probably they're just bashing my keyboard. And next thing you'll say, hey, hold on. Let me post on my video cam. Let me get my kids out. Okay, things like this.
Vincent?
I actually Googled, right, when was the first office, right? The first office, at least in the UK, right, was, I think, like 1750. So they had about 300 years, right, to get work in the office right. When I work from home, in Malaysia case, we had 1 day, right? We had 1 day, and then we had to work from home. So we had no time to fine-tune. We had no time to, right, get things right. And then the challenge was, COVID, right, work from home was essentially a strategic thing, right? That means this team, right, I don't need you to come to office, or this team, right, you must come into the office, right? You had a choice, but when COVID hit, right, the challenge that you had, right, was that everybody works from home, whether it works, it doesn't work, whether you are ready, whether you tried it out, whether you had your process in place, you had no choice. So obviously, certain people got it better than the others, right? And certain people would struggle, I think.
It kind of felt like at one point in time, I had to just be on my screen all the time, even though if there's nothing to do. Because if someone were to send me an email or a message, like I feel like I got to reply immediately, right? Because you're at home, so you should be facing your laptop all the time. There's no buffer in terms of me just having a breather, sometimes even missing meals and stuff like that, right?
Which is true, which is very different, right? Because, right, when I was working in the office, when I need to meet a customer, I actually have to drive there. Right, and during the drive, I have a choice whether to work. That means I call somebody and talk, right, or I can take a break, right. Working from home is meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, right. You don't even have a break, and if your equipment is insufficient, your chair is not that comfortable, then you have all sorts of other problems that also come in. Not to talk about also your kid walking past or your cat jumping onto your table, and things like that.
Raymond, what about your side? What have you seen, like some of the struggles with this, work from home in the early days?
Well, I think we all suffer from this, even us, right? So we were having a conversation earlier about those of us who used to travel a lot, right? So I spent probably half the year, probably about 100 days in a year traveling, and suddenly we had to be in lockdown and stay at home. The first couple of weeks, for the first couple of months, it was like, oh, okay, I finally can rest. I finally, can stay at home. Then after that, things started getting real. And it started getting real not only for me, but everybody in my team, right? So I think the struggle is structure. When everybody started working from home, suddenly the structure was gone. The structure was go in the office in the past, at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, then go home. That structure was no longer there, right? So that was, I think, how a lot of people struggle on. And the second thing is that just the change of the change. As business owners or entrepreneurs, we all know that change is nothing new. It's something that we go through a lot. We're always talking about this world of disruption. But I think one thing that none of us ever predicted is the speed of change. And not only the speed of change, it's the speed of change, then another change, then another change, then another change. It's this constant change which never ends. And that is the thing that I think none of us have a solution to it yet. Yeah.
Adrian, what about your side? Maybe perhaps a personal kind of story of just, how you and your team and maybe your customers, went through the work from home challenges.
I think for us, right, and also some of the other companies, working from home may not be feasible depending on the nature of your business, right? So ourselves being primarily a hardware supplier, we move boxes, we have to be in the warehouse. So how's our warehouse team going to be working, when they're all at home, right? So so thankfully, government gave some leeway into that. But then those businesses struggle when you have to strike a balance where those who are working from home are still able to support those who are in the office, right? Those who are in the warehouse, they need to get things done, they need to get billings done. And then for those who are still working from home, then there needs to be a designated PIC who is there on standby. I mean, the rest, they can be, maybe taking care of family or what, we understand. But at least 1 or 2% from each team should be there on standby to help out. So striking a balance could be a struggle for some.
All right. Actually, interesting you mentioned getting things done, because we do have a question. Vincent, I'm going to go to you first on this question. How do you know that things are getting done, if at all, when you work from home? I'm not specifically mentioning you, like how do you get things done, but like how does, like, for senior management to actually understand, or even like heads of departments to know that things are getting done when it's, work from home and it tends to be so long. Sometimes things get done even past 5, 6 p.m. I know some of employees actually reply emails at 11 at night or even at 1 or 2 a.m. because that's when they can actually do work because they have kids and, or elderly to take care and stuff. How do, senior management and head of departments actually know that things are getting done, if they are getting done at all?
We actually use certain IT tools, and I think that helps. And I'm actually not referring to those spyware that you install on your computer where the boss sees at which keystroke you type.
You can turn on the webcams at any point in time.
I mean,
those are bad
tools that
spywares,
came
right?
out during MCO, right?
Yeah. Those are horrible spywares.
Yeah, right. So, but we do have other tools, the collaboration tools, right? Where, the simplest form that everybody knows is WhatsApp, right? So through the conversation, you can ask whether things are done, right? Through what the staff posts, right? You know the progress of their work. But of course, Microsoft and some others have more advanced tools like Microsoft Teams, right? So we are actually getting work done together, right? So we're, like for example, we are co-authoring a document, so you know exactly whether the guy, right, has done his part of the document. For example, he's supposed to write the technical explanation and he didn't write it, so you know that he didn't do it, right? So tools like that actually makes a lot of difference even for us while everybody was working from home.
Raymond, you mentioned the loss of structure. I guess, in that sense, this kind of... so how do you implement a structure when you have so many different variables, because every employee that works from home has a different types of challenge, right? It could be from the basic of not having proper internet access to not having the best of chairs to having kids and stuff. Can you actually have a structure when you work from home?
Yeah, very interesting. So, like on top of what Vincent said earlier, it was very interesting. I had a customer who called me up during COVID and says, "Hey, Raymond, do you guys sell cameras? Right, CCTV cameras?" I says, "No, we don't. But I'm curious, why do you ask that question?" "Oh, I want to install CCTV cameras in all of my staff's house, so that I can look at them every single day, every minute." I says, that is spying. That's not keeping track of work." So I think this question is very interesting, and everybody's. I think at some point in time, because we are used to being in the office and be able to just pick our head up to see a human there, right? Then it gives us a bit of that comfort that, okay, someone is actually working. But honestly, do we really know that they're working even in the office? We don't. It's just because we cannot see them now that we think that they're not working. So this actually goes back down to the structure. And I think as business owners, we need to have this element of trust, right? So for example, a structure that we implement in the office, we have a morning huddle, we have an evening huddle. So every morning we come on, everybody, and then we state what are our goals for today, what are the things that we want to achieve today, just to keep everyone aligned. And every evening at 5:30, we come on the call again and say, okay, this is what I managed to achieve. So I think during the day, we trust, and every one of us will do whatever we feel that is necessary to get it done. But then we just keep alignment and a check-in every single day. So a simple structure, together with the tools like what Vincent said, that is probably the way moving forward.
James, on your side, do you implement some of those, or have you seen that kind of structure where you've got a morning huddle and you do that, and then they go on and do their work, and then at the evening before they call it a day, there's another sort of like another virtual huddle and stuff. Are there different types of these kind of strategies that you have seen?
Well, yes. I believe every organization would have something similar. So for our own practice here, it's like what Raymond has also mentioned, and I will just reiterate, is about trust as well as discipline. So I will add on to that and empowerment. So basically in the organization, we won't do it as in a daily basis, but probably in a weekly or bi-weekly. But basically it's more to achieve in terms of the mental health. So we have trust that, each of us, we have our duty, we have our responsibilities, okay? Coupled that, we do have advanced tools to actually track milestones, tasks, or probably follow-ups in there. But I think what is most important, it's in this COVID pandemic, it's the state and the health of their mind. So it's not that, I'm expecting them, all the staff, my peers, sitting in front of the machine, work, and they perceive to be like, like a robot. I come in and punch my card, and the card is actually my keyboard, and you hit, oh, time's up, lunch, toilet break. So that's not really what we achieve, but we are achieving towards to a more healthy mind set.
Adrian, from your perspective, like now we've had months of this new norm, and there's constant changes. Even in the future, right, there will be more changes that will come along. Although we call ourselves now we're living in the new norm, there is the next norm as well, right? That will come, right? So, do you think we are actually truly ready for this dynamic and fluid working environment?
Well, we try to think that we are ready, but we never really are. So being agile is critical. Being able to adapt to any new announcements from governments or regulations that we have to follow. We have to be agile and adapt quickly. James, I think he mentioned a very good keyword there, which is milestone, right? So milestone-based performance tracking is what I believe that most business owners should look towards. Don't get too stressed out if your call is not picked up immediately or emails are not being responded to. Understand that when employees are at home, they could have family to take care of, they have their own stuff to take care of. And like you mentioned earlier, some of them are still replying emails at 11 or 12 midnight, right? So sometimes we can also show some appreciation that they are putting in effort, and as long as their tasks are completed on time, then that should be considered as a milestone achieved and productivity achieved.
Raymond, we did mention briefly about the mental health aspect as well, right? So how can companies, if they were to think like, all right, I want to do work from home as an option, like a permanent option, where at least it is available for any individuals who have an easier way of working from home. If they have the opportunity to do so, they'll probably pick it up, right? Because there are some individuals who benefit from working from home, and some individuals who just can't, right? Because they just don't have the environment. How can organizations look after the mental health aspect? Because sometimes it feels like also you're doing just so many things when you're working from home, right? When I was working from home, it was working non-stop. I just felt like I was draining. And after every week, I just had to zone out because I was just struggling with it. So how can companies help for those employees who are in that situation?
I feel it's a mixture of a few things. I think the problem here is everyone or the whole world revolves around this word called speed. In the past, when we used to deliver a message, a pigeon would come and pick up our mail and then send it off, right? It will take probably about a week or two for the pigeon to arrive. But now you send a WhatsApp message, right? Immediately, 2 seconds later, we check the WhatsApp message whether there's 2 blue ticks. And if the guy has a blue tick and he didn't respond to me, then you get frustrated, right? That is the era we are in now, right? So I think as an organization, we have to realize this other word called burnout. And if any one of us burn out at any time, then productivity and work doesn't get done. So this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? We do have a long way to go. So one of the things that I see that works for a lot of organizations is implementing structures within the home. So work from home is not something new. Work from home has been around for ages. It's just that it's newer in Asia because we all are Asians and we love to meet each other. We love to have our teh tarik and things like that. But it's been around in the US and all that for years. And if you understand how they used to do it, everyone had a workplace at home. So they had a different room that they go to work in. Some of them actually dress up to go to work to feel that they're going to work. And when they finish work at 5 o'clock, then they dress down and then go outside and do an exercise. So I think implementing some of those habits, and this is what we do in the office, right? So we have a weekly, everyone has to exercise 3 times a week. And if we have to clock in, right, that this is the amount that I exercise. So we have to implement some form of balanced structures in this work from home practice.
Vincent, what do you have to add on this?
I think as business owners, right, or even managers who manage a team, right, it's also important that you understand this concept of mental health, right, and you learn to recognize when there's something wrong. Right, so we had staff who were in depression, right. Initially, we had no idea that it was depression, right. So they will come in late, right. Simple tasks also they can't do, right. Even in the office, don't talk about working from home, right. Even in the office, right. And then we will always scold them and say, right, how come it's like this, right? What's wrong with you? Okay, and we don't understand until one day, right? One of us went online and we looked at 10 signs of depression, and we say, oh my God, right? Out of the 10 signs, this guy had 9, right? And then how do you handle that, right? So what we did was I went to a psychiatrist, which was quite funny because when I went to the psychiatrist, right, the guy asked for my IC. Then I told the nurse, actually it's not me. The nurse said, everybody says that, right? So IC please, right? So I consulted the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist gave me some ideas on how to deal with the staff and also how to get the staff to go and see him, because the guy who has problems won't admit he has problems, right? So I think it's also key that managers have to recognize that there are mental illness issues, and they should be able to tell that it's an illness and it's not a problem with the staff.
Now, at the risk of it turning into a health and living a webinar, we're obviously doing a tech webinar here. So how can tech actually play a role in assisting all of these that we talk about, right? The structure, the mental health aspect. How important is technology here?
So basically, for myself, I rely a lot on my smartphones as well as Microsoft Office 365, where it has a small little AI. We call it Cortana, where it will actually tell us, how busy you are. Basically, can you actually, block a slot of your own schedule? And I tend to, I went through some articles and I noticed that it's not healthy that you constantly, go meetings after meetings, or you are actually just in front of the machine. It's good to take, after 1 or 2 hours, of a virtual session, take a 15 to 30 minutes break, probably just walk out of your house, catch some fresh air, okay, look at other stuff, and just not, looking into it. So I rely a lot on all those stuff. Basically, it's on iPhone, it's on Siri. For Microsoft, it's actually on Cortana. And probably I will just enjoy some small little chats sometimes with my friends, like through just WhatsApp. We'll just, talk nonsense in there, look at some funny pictures or videos, and etc. So I think that state, it's where we usually use technology, but not just, trying to find ways to achieve it, but to strike a balance for both mental health as well as productivity.
Vincent, tech is very, it's funny, right? Because it can go 2 ways. One, tech can actually help you to connect with people and, have this kind of environments where you can share memes and, have a good time together. But tech can also alienate you from the real world itself, right? So from your perspective, how can companies utilize tech to help with, creating the structure, the mental health aspect and stuff? How can they look at tech as an enabler to assist with the challenges that businesses are facing in work from home?
So in the office, first what I do is I look at, right, in the office, where do the staff let off steam, so to say, right? So some people will say these are the water cooler sessions, right? The light-hearted sessions, right? But in Asia, we don't like this kind of thing, right? So for example, I asked my friend, in Microsoft, there are 2 Xboxes, right? Do you ever see anybody play those Xboxes in Microsoft, in the office in Microsoft? So my friend told me, yes, but you don't see them the next month after, right? So if we are bosses, we recognize that. Then you can replicate some of these sessions through the digital tools, right? So, for example, if you are using Teams or you're using a product like Yammer, right, you can actually have groups that don't talk about IT, right? It could be coffee group or post your pet photo group, right? And all this. So you let the staff, right, release steam or take a break, But of course, certain rules must be in place so they don't tell racially offensive jokes and other things like that,
Raymond, I want to ask you a question. This was something that Vincent actually told me that I should ask you this because you also run something called Owner Circle, right? So, and I think you recently wrote something about entrepreneurs or senior heads. Sometimes are you an accountant? Are you the HOD? Are you the CEO? Are you the CFO? Are you an all-in-one, right? So, for one who argue that that lack of trust between employers and employees is actually one of the biggest challenge or barriers when truly enabling work from home, that trust element, right? Because again, you mentioned we come from an Asian culture and stuff, right? You like to see the individuals there. So how do we solve this from your perspective?
Thanks, Vincent, for putting me up on the podium. Okay, so I think it's a change of mindset, right? At the end of the day, I feel that the digital world allows us to be a lot more efficient. And if we choose to accept the efficiency, then we can change our mindset to accept that across the board. So as CFOs or CTOs or whoever that's managing teams, we need to be able to have the element of trust and mix that with some form of a digital tool. So like Vincent brought up a very good point earlier, collaboration. So in the past, probably because we work in the office, if I was to do something in PowerPoint, I would basically call somebody up and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to send this to you, I'm going to email it to you, you do the changes and you send it back to me. In that moment of the change being happening, one person is not working while another person is working. Whereas now, with digital tools like Microsoft Teams and so on, both persons can get on the Microsoft PowerPoint at the same time. And I think this trust element goes back down to this word togetherness. More often now when we're working from home, we are more alone in that sense. But we must instill a sense of togetherness. So get on more Teams call. When you're on a Teams call, turn on the videos, right? That's why there's a video function, right? It's not an audio call, right? Turn on the videos. Get collaborating, right? Put more effort in terms of other activities like sports, right? So for example, we built this mini app that we all go running every day and we track all our watches, right? Our step trackers, and it syncs back to our central system so that everybody can see who is slacking off, who is not exercising, and who is actually the beast in beast mode every single day, right? So I think the trust factor comes back to this understanding of what everyone is kind of running their lives. And if that is available, then the trust factor kind of increases.
So just to stick on that also, right? I know some companies have done that where they utilize some of the fun elements in the tech space, like the watch speedometer, your step meter and stuff, right? So and then they make it into some sort of gamification and challenges. But there are employees that don't like to actually participate in all this, right? So it's also again striking the balance. So how can one get like a buy-in? How can they actually go about in implementing this? Because it can't just be implemented without sort of consulting, because there will be individuals who be like, I don't want to participate and I don't want to use the Fitbit that you've given me and do, count my steps and stuff, because I'm just generally a lazy person, right? So, and I don't want to be punished for it, right? So.
Yeah, I think many people will look in the mirror every morning and they'll tell themselves, this is absurd, what's wrong with you, right? And I think it goes back down to not something which is non-technology, which is values. I think all of us as business owners have to really understand what is the values and how do we want to run the company. Are we running the company for the employees? Do we want to build a culture where, everybody gets to do everything that they want to do? Where is the alignment then? Right? Then I guess as business owners, we really have to ask ourselves, do we want people like that doesn't want to play? Right? If everyone is playing and you have one or two person that just doesn't want to play, right? That's the question back to us. What is the values that we want everybody to drive? Right? Are we all aligned?
Adrian, sorry for keeping you waiting for all this while. Right? I think there was really good conversations from across. But I want to move on to you. How do companies actually start a clear work from home implementation with new workflow processes and all these new habits that are coming along as well to ensure that one is their concerns they would have is addressed, but also at the end of the day it's productivity. It's kept at the same level. Obviously, ideally to be higher, but at this point in time, I think, should businesses look at keeping productivities at the same level?
Well, to maintain productivity while working from home, so of course you need proper equipment, proper working space, and as Vincent mentioned, even the chair, which most of us overlook, plays an important role because you'll be sitting in it almost throughout the whole day. So, when we are working from home, I think the most basic thing that we need is a good internet connection, a good laptop. And I think interesting to note, Raymond mentioned about turning on your camera, right? I think for the past, 5-10 years that we have all owned a laptop, how often have we used that camera? The moment you buy a laptop, you unbox it, the first thing you do, you put a sticky tape on the camera. But that has changed now. We have opened it up so much. So, and having the right tools, such as Microsoft Teams to stay connected, and Microsoft Teams allows you to do, voice calls, video calls, share your screens when we are now delivering sales pitches and even product demos over Teams, which is it still helps business to continue running, right? And when we are talking about equipment, we're also looking at good quality headsets as well. So because sometimes when we are in an environment where we have kids in the background, we have like dogs barking, neighbors' dogs barking, right? So we have to make sure that when we speak and we don't have interruptions, because the interruption is not only for us, it's also to whoever is participating in that call, right? So having these tools will really help to keep everyone's productivity up, and make sure that we stay connected and get things done.
Yeah. That's a good point, right? So Vincent, I want to go back to you, but yeah, it's right, like having these kind of tools, headphones, a better chair. I think my spending habit during the lockdown was actually buying things to make my home a more friendly working environment, right? I got a better chair, I've got noise cancelling headphones. But let's face it, right? Not every single individual have the luxury to go out online, buy all this stuff for them to make their work easier, right? So how can organizations assist in providing these kind of things, Vincent? Because I think before we had this session, I actually overheard you talking about a new headphones that you bought recently, which helps you to noise cancelling. It's also a lot more comfortable for the longer hours and stuff. But not everyone has the capacity at this point of time to actually purchase really expensive technology tools like headphones. And so they can cost up to 1,000 ringgit or so, right? So how do we go about as owners of organizations?
So a Sifu once taught me, right? You play the cards that you are dealt with. Okay, you might not get the perfect hand, right? But these are the cards in front of you, and you play it to the best of your ability. I think attitude is the most important, right? It's a brave new world, right? Everybody is an explorer. Nobody has all the answers, like Raymond said, right? So go out and explore. You try within your means. So when MCO hit, right, or slightly before MCO, right, we already knew we couldn't run events, right? We run a lot of in-person events, and we knew that we couldn't. Why? Even when we run the events, people don't attend, right? So we went out and we start equipping a studio, okay? But we don't have a lot of budget, right? Here we have green screens, we have professional level cameras, we have timers, huge kind of stuff, but that you don't see. You go to the Facebook and you probably see the behind the scenes photos, right? But we don't have that kind of budget. So we did simple things, right? We bought green cloth, right? We repainted our back wall. We went to IKEA, we bought some clocks, right? We couldn't afford the cameras, all right, at least for now, right? So we went and got those Logitech webcams, right? So we did within our means, and we try and replicate, how to do a professional event. So you do what you can, but the important thing is the attitude is important. You keep on trying. You don't stare at the wall and say, oh, die lah, how? Right? And if it doesn't work, you junk it and you move on. Right?
James, what about your side? Like, how can businesses look at implementing, work from home strategies better in the sense? Should they look at it as in like, I'm going to implement all this and productivity is going to be higher, or should they just focus on actually sustaining productivity levels?
So I would definitely give an answer to sustained, but most importantly, it's to strike a balance. So for organizations, in my point of view, implementing things like processes, okay, probably most of you guys may be aware, KPIs or key performance indexes, and the audience or basically the management should all come together and put on the same thinking hat, as in how can we make work from home as comfortable as the organization. At the same time, we have trust, we have empowerment to our staff, and we should give them the leeway. And most important of all is to identify the gaps, okay, the gaps in there. So with the gaps, we will then see, okay, for example, this division requires constant meeting, collaboration. They may need equipments like headsets and webcams. So the company can actually, plan specific budgets for this audience. But for those who might not constantly have virtual meetings, I think it's a two-way thing. So pandemic, it's not going to hit just only me or the organization, but it's both ways. Probably there's some form of compromise that I will usually speak about, as in if you have, probably a handphone that has, microphone or headsets, just use it. It may not be the best, like what Vincent has mentioned. You may not have the best cards, but it's good enough for you to walk through this pandemic. When things are better, then into compensation or getting you a more equipped gear for that sense.
Vincent, you want to add on?
Something not many people know. This year is the 50th anniversary of Apollo 13. Right? Apollo 13 was when one of the rockets going to the moon, right, had equipment failure, right, mid-flight. Right? What can you do? Right? You are limited by whatever was available in the rocket. 50 years ago, mind you, right? How do you turn around a rocket, land safely, and bring the crew back alive? 50 years ago, with only whatever stuff you have in the rocket, and they managed to do that 50 years ago. And today we have all this cool technology, right? Whether it's free, whether it's paid, right? We can do the impossible if we have the right attitude. I think that's the main thing.
It is the attitude, it is the mindset. I think one area that I always like to say is that digital is actually not a tool, it's a culture. Right? So once we think of it in that aspect, I think then we will realize the opportunities that it presents as well. Right? So Raymond, I want to go to you and just maybe look at some of the things that may not have worked. We talked a lot about the things that have worked, we've got the structures and stuff. What are some of the things that you've noticed that didn't quite work from work from home arrangements?
Okay, I think there's many things that did not work, right? I think at the start, when everybody was working from home, everybody, if you realize, jumped on the Facebook Live bandwagon. Everybody was doing Facebook Lives every single day. And that was great for like 2.5 months. Right, and then everybody just went on a Facebook Live fatigue, right? So those are some things. So I think we can't fault anybody. It's really about changing, and it's really about adapting, right? Other things that didn't work was the whole work from home with your family culture, right? Everybody thought, okay, great, this is work from home. Now I can be with my family more. That lasted for 3 days, right? Until they realized that, oh my God, my family is with me all the time. This does not work, right? So I think it's not about pinpointing what works or doesn't work. I don't think we have a clue. I don't think we know what works or doesn't work, right? I think we just have to consistently figure things out, right? We've got to consistently move, and we can't just sit still. We've in the world of IT or even in business, we've always talked about this word called disruption. Right? And I feel that on top of what James said about sustaining, I feel that there is an opportunity here. There is an opportunity here to disrupt, to continue to disrupt, and to figure out what is the next step. And we've got to do it as fast as possible.
Adrian, should work from home be a permanent option? And if the answer is like yes, or even if it's like there's a way to look at it, what are some of the considerations that organizations should take, or even like should actually have a think about in terms of actually going to make work from home permanent? Because we've seen some of the larger companies that has given that flexibility, that option, right? They've announced that some of their employees, all of their employees, can work from home even all throughout 2021, right? And for some organizations are looking at it as like, hang on a minute, like that's a bold step forward. What should organizations think about first before they can actually like go ahead and let's make it permanent?
Well, again, it depends on the nature of your business, right? So not everyone can afford to have the whole team work from home. Should it be something permanent, depending on your job scope, then it could be, but for some others, it just doesn't work, right? So when it becomes something that is permanent for certain teams, then with all the milestone-based performance measurements in place, then that would be something that will work, and you can see the efficiency still being maintained, productivity maintained throughout the whole process. And I feel that when we have a work from home kind of arrangement, we shouldn't be looking so much into are you really working from home? Because the keyword, I think, is now remote working. You could be from home, you could be from a cafe, from anywhere, but the concept is just you no longer have to step into a same location every day, right? So you can work from everywhere.
I think the challenge we see is like, like production or manufacturing, right? When you actually have to physically be there and hand-holding with really large machines, right?
Those you can't work from home, right? But then for any other divisions or departments where it allows you to do so, then that can be something that companies can look into. Because COVID is still here for the foreseeable future, even if there's positive developments in vaccine availability. And who knows, there's going to be a COVID 2021. Right.
I guess we probably want to end on the higher note, so that, not on the downer notes, like, oh no, but the good news is there has been a lot of vaccines in place, and I guess the idea here is that how do we find a balance, which, all of y'all have mentioned, right, is finding the balance despite what's going to happen in 2021, is finding that right balance with the right kind of implementation. So, we're about 5 minutes before we kind of have to wrap up the session, and I think we'll go around the stage. James, I'll start with you first. Perhaps maybe one advice that you can provide to business leaders in the area of implementing a clear work from home strategy.
Okay, so I think there are a few considerations. I will basically rely on these three which I've been using it, which is people, process, as well as technology. Because let's face it, there is no business that does not require human being. Although yes, we are moving into automation on what we have went through on panel 1, but the mere fact it's even automation requires some form of human being who actually made that up. Okay, and when someone has to get certain things done, you have a check and balance. This is where process comes into a picture. And last but not least, maximize and optimize technologies that it's available out there in the market. And personally, I have experienced this a lot. A lot of customers just, when things was good, buy. But when things are bad, do I have it? I do not know. Should I go and look out? I do not know. Best is just, look back at your pockets. What have you invested? Whether those things are good enough for you to actually roll it out, to actually support both your people, your process, and continue to get your business engine running. So that is where we talk about, sustainability and what Raymond has iterated, opportunity.
Vincent, what about you?
I will go on the attitude angle, right? So the tools are there. There are plenty of tools. And these tools don't cost a lot. Right, they cost a fraction of the productivity they bring, but sometimes we just don't feel uncomfortable going out in a brave new world, right? So the challenge, so my advice is go and try. It's okay. It's going to, just don't resist change, right? Because you can't, right? The world has changed. Okay, so many stuff, electronic signatures, or the way you run your meetings, or way you run your events. So much tools out there. Just try. If it doesn't work, doesn't matter. It's a subscription base. You can always change, right, and do something else. But get off the seat and try. I think that's my advice.
Raymond?
I feel that there is really this opportunity here. I know some people are thinking that, okay, we are working from home now, and then when this whole COVID situation finishes, the vaccine will be here, and then it will all return back to normal and we'll be all back in the office. Maybe yes, but I feel that we should address this as an opportunity. Because now everyone is accepting to be able to transact or do sales, for example, via a phone call or via a video call, we can actually open up our markets even more. We can actually see that now we can do business in Jakarta, we can do business in Singapore, we can do our business anywhere. Right? So this is an opportunity. And like what Vincent said earlier, I totally agree, right? Attitude is first. After attitude is process. Right? Once you have the process, then go and look for the digital tool. There's many digital tools here. I mean, in this panel alone, there's many of the digital tools that we all offer here. But if we don't understand the process of why we need to use the digital tools, the digital tool is not going to solve our problem. It is not a problem solver. It's not a robot that's going to solve it, right? It is something to make us more efficient. And so I think if we approach it that way, I think we all have an opportunity to grow.
And Adrian, we'll leave it with you on hopefully leaving on a high note. Advice for those who are trying to implement a clear work from home strategy.
So like we're talking about the role of IT in post-COVID, right? So there's depends on how you look at post-COVID. Are we looking at like when COVID is gone, which we don't know when? There's no date given, so we can't really plan for that. Change has to happen, not today, even like during MCO, like we had 1 day to prepare, right? So change should have happened back then. But for those who are still struggling or finding, what's right or wrong, like Vincent mentioned, you should just go ahead and try it. Though, in the beginning, like Raymond said, there was a lot of Facebook lives going on, and 2 months later, everyone had Facebook live fatigue. But kudos to those people who gave it a shot, right? So give it a try, have the right attitude, grab the opportunity and implement processes where you can actually maintain the kind of productivity that we had pre-COVID and adapt to the new norm, right? Selling over calls, selling over video calls, I think we will all do well. Just have the right attitude and just keep trying.
It's I guess interesting, right? Because it does kind of relate back to our earlier panel session. Is also about taking baby steps forward, right? It's the same with this, and I think it's the same with any kind of strategy that we want to do. And I think even in our earlier panel is that fear of change, that resistance of change. But we have to adapt. We have to change. We have to take the step forward. And hopefully 2021 will be a better year when the environment changes. But that doesn't mean what you're implementing today is definitely going to work for the next year, because it's going to change, right? Your consumers and your customers will behave differently. Just same like working from home is probably going to be changing as well, right? Gentlemen, thank you so much for all your insight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up our final panel session. Again, I hope that this session has provided you with some insights and knowledge on how to better prepare yourself for the start of the year 2021 in a much stronger state, as we have continuously have to adapt to the uncertain challenges that lie ahead. But ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't end just here. As I mentioned earlier on, we have prepared additional materials for you regarding both our panel session topics for today. You can find them on the website at rhipepartnersolutions.com, and you can view this at your own time and pace. So, take the weekend to recap all of the amazing pointers that has been provided for you today. Again, the website is rhipepartnersolution.com. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again. As I think, to wrap this session up, I think implementation is always the most important step forward, and we truly hope that all of the information that we have presented to you here in this event and also in the videos that you can find online will give you that extra boost to your business. We would like to end with just one small favor. Over the next few hours or so, you will be receiving a feedback form via your email, and we would greatly appreciate if you could actually help us to fill that out. I think it will take only less than a minute or so. It is important actually for us to actually know how to serve you better with more relevant topics for your business challenges. My name is Jeff Sandu, and it's been a pleasure hosting this event. And until the next event, stay safe. Goodbye.